Well, we're here at Cranbourne on Cranbourne Trotting and Pacing Cup night, and I am rapt to be catching up with John Bootsman from Boko Farms. Firstly, John, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, you didn't make it last week with a couple of little glitches. Great Southern Star night would have been awesome to have been there. One, did you get to catch up and watch the replays of those races?
Yeah, I watched a lot of Australian races. We bought a couple of years ago from Duncan Aldebaran and Vera.
Yep.
And she's racing a lot, and March with the team does a great job. So sometimes I go up at night and watch the races. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I saw this fantastic horse, Locomotive, who beat Aldebaran and Vera a couple of times. Yep. So it's fun.
Yeah, and he went 151.6 just outside Murray Times record. Duncan sent it over the side there. She's still the fastest horse in Australia, but incredible times they are now running down under here. You must be blown away by that.
Yeah, I'm impressed. It was 7 years ago. I was in Noosa with Duncan, and I'm pretty successful in Europe, 250 Group 1 winners, and he asked me, he said, how do I get a better breeder? And we went over his program, and I said, well, first of all, you have to get rid of a lot of shit mares. Yep. That's what the base is. And after that, I have big respect for what Duncan has been doing. I mean, from where we were then 7 years ago, now he has Zoya, and remember, he just told me in the car, now his criterion is they have to win $100,000 or going 55, otherwise they're not good of his broodmare band. If you take that perspective in 7 years, that blows me away.
And it'll continue to go. Boko Farms is who you are. How big is Boko Farms worldwide?
Worldwide, I own 360 horses. I'm basically based in Sweden and in Holland. This year I had a horse in Hungary that won all the Group 1 winners, but that's like incidentally, you bring a couple of mares, trying the market and things like that. So in America I have a couple, and actually I'm active in like 20 countries, but basically Sweden and Holland is the main market.
We know how big it is in Sweden. We see the elite lot in that. Holland? How big is harness racing there?
Not so big. I bought the racetrack of Wolvega, which is the biggest racetrack in Holland. I bought it in 2010 together with a friend. Went up 15 years later, and it's difficult. Sport is not big, and we're fighting and suffering to get the track going. With the inflation, all the costs has gone up, and the 5 legs of incomes we have, they're gone down, all of them, the sponsoring, the betting and everything. So it's not easy. It's Sweden and France in Europe that's counting, and the rest is minor.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Do you have horses in France?
Yes, also, yeah.
Yeah, stallions?
No stallions, no, some racehorses, and we won and that's in France. We won a 3-year-old of mine, Merveille Boko, won the other week, a normal race in France, and then you get like 20,000 euros. What is that, 30,000 Aussie? So the prize money there is fantastic, and but you have to have a French breed. It's called Trotteur Français.
Yeah, and it's very hard to get into and go from there. Sweden, like, do you have farms there? Do you have stud farms in Sweden?
Yeah, well, not farms. One farm, and we're breeding horses there. This year I will have about 80 foals that we're selling on the market. So most of them being Swedish. So that's basically what we do.
So is that predominantly where your breeding band is, in Sweden, or do you have it, like you've got it in Holland, but your main ones are in Sweden? Is that how?
Well, Europe is different. I mean, I have a big farm in Holland. We have 160 horses, but 95% of the horses are Swedish registered. So I raise them in Holland, bring them up, but they have a Swedish passport, so they can race in the Swedish classic races. So even if you have a farm in Holland, it doesn't mean that they're Dutch registered.
Yeah.
Basically, all my horses, most of them are Swedish registered, although 150 of them are in Holland.
Yeah. You mentioned one other country just before when you were rattling Hungary. Hungary's the other country. So how big is it in Hungary, harness racing?
No, those countries are pretty small. Prize money, she won four Group 1 races. What's her name? Freya Boko. She raced at Vincennes actually. After that, we were testing her the day of the Prix de Marique. She won 4 Group 1 races, and her total purse is like 30,000 euros. So it's not that big. Probably they have like 70, 80 foals a year. So those countries are small, but that makes it fun to go in and then try to win all the big races, because you don't need a lot of broodmares there to do that.
And the one thing I've found when you travel around the world, they might be small, but the passion's amazing.
Yeah, exactly, and it's all about passion. I mean, look, a person like Duncan, I mean, of course, you have to have the money, but the basic, you have to have the passion, and you have to love it, what you're doing. And that's the only way to really do well.
Trotters only for you?
Yeah, trotters only. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't never waver.
No, I've been in all the other sports too. I've been in gallop 2 years. I'm telling you, losing. You cannot compete with the Arabs and the Japanese, and so those things I quit pretty early.
How did you fall in love with it? Like, is it family or is it?
Well, it's my father. My father, he was very poor right after the war. Very poor guy. Hardly no school, and he made it big in constructing without any education in constructing. And he always, there were two horses that were big in his youth, Under May and Harris Doe, and that was his dream. And then in '71 he had some money and he got a chance and he bought a foal, and he came home. I was 7 years old, and he said, I bought something. Guess what? My brother didn't guess it, me neither, my sister neither, and it was a horse. And it really took me, and after that I fell in love with it, and my brother and my sister never couldn't care less. So it's yeah.
And it's a thing you followed on with your dad. I would imagine you would have shared some great memories with him.
Yeah. We in Holland, what was always his dream. My father didn't know much about horses, so I helped him a lot. I mean, my passion is breeding, and we won 13 derbies. That's a big race in Holland. So he died 5 years ago, but we had some great rides together.
Yeah, I would imagine. We'll touch on Australia in a sec. America and Canada. Do you race horses in America and Canada?
Yeah,
Did you breed?
Yeah, we had a couple of good horses in America. Frances Jet Boko won everything 1 year. She was horse of the filly of the year in America. Right now I'm concentrating more on Europe. From Duncan I bought a very nice foal a couple of years ago, Aldebaran Vera. So that's one we race here. I go to the farm tomorrow, look at some new babies and everything. So Duncan has, in my opinion, the best horses here. So try to buy something for him and race it. That's my passion.
Aldebaran Vera races with Lees and Marg and Cravens. What are your goals with her? Like, breeding from her. Do you keep her here in Australia? Does she go home? She'll stay here and continue to breed.
We bought her, of course, for a future broodmare. Now, I could never imagine she would already want $200,000, so that's a bonus. But our dream, Duncan's dream, my dream is to breed it to Walner if it's available, and other chimpanzee, some top stallion, and then carry on and producing babies. Yeah, that's the dream of every breeder.
Will that race here in Australia?
Of course.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you say of course, but you never know. Like it would be a very expensive foal, so.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to reach the top and you want to play at the top, it's so much more fun. So that's always been my philosophy. If you're in it, I mean, then at least do it and try to be in the top. So, and what can be better than a horse that wins 200,000 together with Walner or chimpanzee? So living the dream.
Marg and the boys, they might be getting in touch with you. Have you seen Kiang Zahara? Have you been able to see her and watch her and your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched her. Yeah, I saw her. So.
Your thoughts about her?
You mean the horse, right?
Yeah.
She has been because when you look at Vera's races, you always see that filly, of course, too. Yep. So, I always admire opponents and horses that are better, and that's okay. Yep. Vera has been lucky because her first 5 races in her life she finished second, and in Australia you can win a race. It's 34,000, and then the second prize is 9, 6, 4. Like in Europe, you always, if you have 60,000 purse, you break it down in 30, 15, 7.5, 3.5. And that's what I learned here. If you win or you're second,
it's good.
Well, that's a big difference. Yeah. So and Vera was 5 times in a row second in a big race. So that was a little bit unlucky, but it is what it is.
Stallions. Do you have stallions like you said there before about all your broodmares and that? Do you actually stand stallions?
Yeah,
as well?
I have some own stallions, and in Holland right now I have a stallion called Chelsea Boko who's really doing good. I have shares in a lot of horses like Muscle Hill and a lot of good ones. But in Sweden, where my main focus is, another thing I should tell you: in Sweden you pay in Swedish crowns, and the rest of Europe in euros. Now the Swedish crown has come down, so for me it's very interesting also to pay in Swedish crowns. So having stallions like Readly Express, okay, just a sidestep, to me Readly Express is by far the number one in Europe. Yeah, they have all those expensive ones, the American stud fees, the American prices, but a lot of those stallions are overrated because even in Europe they're not doing so much well. But then you have a stallion like Readly Express. They're not only winning everything, but they're tough. They have the gait. They have everything. Yeah. So to me, Readly Express, and especially for that soft foal fee of under 10,000 Swedish, which is 9,000 euros, it's very, very cheap relatively to the American stallions. Tactical Ending, they race from 15 till 25. In my opinion, Ridley Express is a much better stallion.
Yep.
And then you have Ridley Express son from the first crop, Calgary Games, that it looks like he's just blowing away all the other ones. That's the way they train now. They're now 2 years old. We have them in training about 8-9 months now. So the training reports, they are just to die for. Still reports, it's proof is in the pudding. But the Calgary Games, they just look awesome.
Right, 2 questions. Pie in the Sky, that is still working there. I imagine that if you could go to anyone at the minute, Readily Express is the horse. But if I said to you, Aldebaran Vero, and we don't worry what she's by because that takes all the fun out of it, anyone in the world, what stallion would you go to?
Readily Express is a good possibility. If you want to be really exclusive, Walner, I would say to sell them at yearling sales, maybe Walner is a tip higher than Readily Express, but that's a close call.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a big rat for Readily Express. Did you see Ready Cash? Did you see, because he's a sire of Readily Express, is that correct? Yes, I hope so.
If I saw him, yeah.
You saw him race?
Yeah, many times. Yeah.
And his legacy that he's starting to leave now with all of his sons and that, he must have been, was he a great horse to see in the flesh?
Ready Cash was pretty special. I mean, he's one of the few horses that I've ever seen that had the speed of a thoroughbred. When he could accelerate, I mean, that was something we have never seen before. And that was really the speed that just blew me away. We've had very few horses that could accelerate like him. So when he became a stallion, I bred a lot to him, and he's done well. Don't forget that over all the years now, he died last year, over all the years now, we know that 50% got to the track and 50% never raced. Yep. So he had mental issues, they were very headstrong, etc. So if you had a Readly that you were lucky and that you trained well, or that the mentality was okay, he was pretty calm, they had tremendous capacity. But they had a motor that was different than all the other horses. But mentally, I mean, with the start fee of €50,000 to have that 1 out of 2 will never race, that's a challenge for a breeder. But Ready Cash was something special. But then you take his sons. Yeah. He has 2 sons that are really doing well. You have, first of all, Readily Express in Sweden, my opinion, best stallion in Europe. And then you have FaceTime Bourbon, that's off to a very good start. But he has a lot of sons, Brillantissimi, Charlie de Noyer, the Django Riff, Golden Bridge, you name them all. I think he has about 50 stallions right now. But besides FaceTime and Readily Express, they're not that impressive as a stallion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that is interesting. But they still do a very good job. But and I would imagine you're probably great.
But what I just want to say, it's not that every son of Ready Cash then automatically is a good stallion too. I mean, Readily Express is top and FaceTime Bourbon is top, but all the other ones are a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting point to see to go. Australian racing, you watch it, a lot. Do you enjoy it?
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
What's the best part about it?
Well, the best part is, I mean, I love the competition. I love the way you racing. If I would say one minor part is maybe the handling with a whip, and that's something we discuss a lot in Europe. So it's not that it affects so much me. I love to race it, but I can see the way we have the discussions now. I own the racetrack in Wolvega, and last year we had to take no other decision than to take away the whip, mostly because of the animal organizations and the crowd, and we're living in 2025, so things are changing. So that's the only thing maybe here in Australia you should take with you, that with all the media and especially, we had a horse at my track that was bleeding a little bit for Antonio. It was not a big issue, but some people put it on the internet and it had 10,000 likes and everything, and things exploded, and I realized that things are different, and that's maybe something you should look at. Otherwise, I mean, I love Australian racing, but maybe the way that you have the rules for the whip right now, you could maybe modify a little bit
and change it up.
I think so. I think that if we want to have the legitimacy, that's the word, legitimacy to gamble on horses, we don't ask the horses. Yep. We do. We don't ask the horses how they feel. We do, and we treat them very well. Yep. I mean, I love my horses, so that's not the thing. But to be legitimate, to use them in racing, I think one of the things you should look at is like the whip, the way you treat them. In Sweden nowadays, after the races, they have a lot of controls. If there's like a mark on the horse, it gets reported and everything. So it is what it is. Things are changing, and that's something you also have to adapt and
have to accept. And I must say, when I was on that side of the fence, I was like, no, you can't take that away. But this side of the fence, I can actually see it, and you watch the visual perspective, and that's one thing that people need to get their head around. We're not being cruel, and we don't want anyone to think we are being cruel, but we've got to understand that people still perceive it that way.
Yeah, you know, I own a racetrack. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much, but the perception of the people, and if I see how things can get out of hand at social media, then you have to be realistic, and it's a big issue for a lot of people. And then you have the politics and the animals organizations, so things are changed.
John, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me a little bit of time. I really do appreciate it. Well done for your contribution to harness racing. Keep investing in Australian harness racing. We need more people investing in harness racing. We need more people bringing the lines.
Tomorrow we go to Aldebaran. That's always one of my best days of the year, looking at all the foals and all the mares and everything. And it's like being a kid in a candy store. So yeah, I hope I find tomorrow another Aldebaran Vera.
I've seen a couple there. There's a couple of Calgary games. There's a couple of Wellness too. Don't worry about that. I've had a few video footage of those guys.
Yeah, and really interesting. I'm a really big fan of Ridley Express, and I followed Dancing in the Dark in America, of course. As we all know, the Hambo that Captain Corey won. Captain Corey was not the best horse in the crop. They were racing in the Consolation before the horses that didn't make it to the final. Jubilee and Dancing in the Dark. They were racing neck and neck and winning in a record time, much faster than the Hambo. And then Dancing in the Dark ends up here, and the foals I've seen so far, wow, they are, they look good. So that's another interesting thing tomorrow, to see some more horses after Dancing in the Dark.
John, thank you. Thanks for coming down. Enjoy Noosa.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.